But just so that you know, the Celtics saved $180 million in tax penalties, and whether you agree with it or not, in doing so, they got 3 second-round picks. They got a veteran who's had a couple of playoff runs, and they got a potential 20-point scorer. So I think we can agree. My previous point, we'll get to the sound that Amin wants us to eradicate forever in a second. But I do think we can agree, if not all championships being always architecture-based, because sometimes you just have a star and it doesn't matter how much you build around them, we can say the last two are celebrations of front office, can we not?
Well, this year's championship, it's more of a long-term celebration of front office. To me, that's front office work, is building over time and adding and curating and chiseling, right? The big blockbuster deal rarely, not never, but rarely turns into an immediate championship. The Celtics swung big two summers ago by sending Marcus Smart, who was a big part of their culture.
Not an easy trade to make.
That one is like, yes, that's swinging for the fences. They went out and got Porzingis, and it worked magically for them. The Thunder, yes, acquiring Alex Caruso, huge, not only for his contributions on the floor, but also because he taught them how to pop bottles of champagne. Don't know if you guys know that one.
I have to show you guys.
I have to show
you guys some of the video here on guys on the Thunder who have never had a drink and guys on the Thunder who had too many drinks. We can check in actually with them now as soon as you finish your point, because Chet Holmgren was slurring through the parade. SGA looked drunk on GMA, and Jalen Williams says he's about to go drinking, even though he's never had a drink.
The Thunder are an example of the kind of patient front office work that nobody really wants. This thing started 6 years ago, right? And they tore it down, and they used their cap space to accumulate and pick right and develop and make tweaks here and there. And it culminates with we have the cap space to sign Isaiah Hartenstein because we think he fits what we need. We can go out and get Alex Caruso because we can't have too many of these young guys who've never done anything before. So Josh Giddey goes, Alex Caruso comes in. And now you get to a place where you win a championship. And even then, we see how small the margins are. It could have gone wrong several times.
They were ready to lose that championship. Oddball will have some draft coverage for you here if you want some of that good stuff. We will have drunken players in a second. But before I do that, Theo Epstein represents in the history of Boston the greatest architect that there has been in sports by reputation. I can't believe I'm saying this, but Brad Stevens would appear to be a better executive than he was a coach. And that's no knock on him as a coach. But the Marcus Smart trade is a very difficult trade to make, to realize that Tatum and Brown needed to have a team that Marcus Smart didn't want to give it to them. And then to get two players like that in Holiday and Porzingis, there were perfect complements, because there are very few guys willing to do the things Jrue Holiday does as a third or fourth option, and Porzingis stretched the floor ridiculously, but also allowed for the growth of Derrick White in there. But the idea that champion is no more that quickly, still surprising to me. But it's still surprising to me. Why would it not be surprising to me? The Celtics seem like they were only on the ascent.
It seems like if Tatum doesn't get hurt, they're going to go into the repeater tax. They're going to go into the luxury tax. Like, it felt like it was kind of churning that way, no?
It's more that I don't know that they would have ever gone into any of that because of the new ownership and wanting to get under that luxury tax, but they would have been right back in that conversation at least this year and still been around the championship. It feels like everything fell apart, and now not only are they making moves just based off the future because they know next season doesn't really matter, but they were willing to get that much worse because they want to build it back up around Tatum once he is healthy.
They were going to make hard decisions either way. The only thing the injury did was to give them the out of, oh, no, we need to make hard decisions. But they, like somebody, not Brown, not Tatum, right? And probably not Derrick White, but there were going to be people gone.
So you think they're done?
But no, Shams is saying that Jalen and Derrick White, they're getting calls all over the place, that the Celtics are getting the calls, and I don't think they're done. You think they're done?
Done in what sense?
Either way.
Big moves.
Do you think that they're done with moves or done being able to do something for this year? Because I think they go right back to playing for the championship this year, even though Tatum's going to miss most of the year.
They're one more move away from getting under the tax. They're in the repeater tax. And in order to get out of the repeater tax, you've got to be out of it 3 out of 5 times, right? So, 2 times in 5 years. They've been in the repeater tax 3 times now. So they have a mandate to get under that thing one more time. So one more deal. Is it Sam Hauser? Is it Derrick White? I don't think it's going to be Jaylen Brown. I don't think it's going to be Derrick White. But, of course, they're getting calls, and you got to listen because you're in a position. Are they done forever? No. I think, a year from now, they'll be back to reload in the summer of
Why would you
2026.
trade Derrick White?
Because he makes $28 million next year, $30.3 the year after that, $32.5 the year after that, and he's got a player option of $35 the year after that. That's why you trade. It's not because, I don't like him anymore, he's no good. This is a lot of money. Now, if we're at the peak of competing for a championship, I'll pay it, right? That's why they paid all those guys. But once you get to a place where we're not quite at the peak of competing for a championship, it's really hard for me to convince ownership, hey, let's just keep throwing money at this thing that's not going to pay for itself.
I think they're going to trade Derrick White. I think they're going to trade Derrick White because you see what Orlando just got for Desmond Bane. Boston knows they're not a contender this year. If they can get a haul for Derrick White, which I think they probably could, then in a year from now, you're going to do it again. Like, you're building your championship team around Tatum and Brown, and now you have all of these assets next offseason to play with. I think they're going to trade Derrick White.
The question is, who has the assets to go get a Derrick White? Who has what Desmond Bane went for? Who has that left out there?
Oklahoma City has everything.
Brooklyn's got a ton of picks.
Yeah,
No,
but Brooklyn's got like 5 in the first round.
5
tonight.
in the first round, and they don't know what to do with them.
Build their centerpiece around Derrick White
but
for the Brooklyn Nets?
Well, I mean, look, you build your centerpiece around Desmond Bane if you're the Orlando
Do you
Magic?
believe Derrick White? I don't believe Derrick White's a number one. He's a lot better player than any of us thought he was, but he was at least that good because he played with those 2 other guys.
Yes, let's not get caught up. Yes, he's not a centerpiece of a team. I'm just trying to be funny because Desmond Bane went for 8 billion picks. But to answer your question, a Sam Hauser deal gets him under. So they doesn't have to get to Derrick White.
You say 8 million picks. A Gobert costs you 5 now. A Bridges costs you 5 now.
Yeah.
A Bane costs you 5 now. Like that. When yes.
But let me stop you there because Gobert costs you 5. What had Gobert done in his career? He was like a 3-time Defensive Player of the Year when that happened, right? The Bridges deal is the only example of like, hey, this guy who's never had any sort of accolade, we're going to give up a zillion picks for him. Why? Well, because he's best friends with my best player. Like that was their thinking. Like the power of friendship, of course.
But that's the rate now.
That's not the rate. That's the rate if you're dealing with.
Bane just is a catch and shoot 3 shooter, and he just went for 5 picks. That's the rate.
That's the rate if you're dealing with a team that is desperate. Kevin Durant went for 1 pick. What are we talking about?
Bane has never been an all-star. Like you just said, Bridges doesn't have accolades.
I know.
Neither does Bane.
That's the way.
That's
the
my
way
point.
I see it. I mean, is that I don't think it's what that guy is worth. I think it's about what that guy is worth to the team that's trading for him. Like Minnesota felt, okay, Gobert's not worth 5 picks, but to us he is because we think he's the missing piece for a championship. Mikal Bridges, he's not worth 5 picks, but to us, we think it makes us a championship team.
Okay, so this was what Mike was doing yesterday when he was talking about the Heat missing on Anunoby and on
Siakam.
And Siakam. They weren't missing pieces either, right? Because they didn't end up being champions. Like Siakam got very close and was important. Anunoby has been very important, but they don't get to be missing pieces because the Heat have been as far as the Pacers just got.
But that's like saying the Siakam trade was a failure for Indiana.
I'm not saying it's a failure. Mike Ryan's criticizing them for every guy they have not gotten, and what I'm saying is if they'd gotten Siakam, they still wouldn't be a champion, and he'd still be criticizing them.